Michelle's going to start it out.
So I'm Michelle, this is Colton, and my mom, Linda. When I was about 6 months pregnant, I went to our local hospital. I was having some pains, and a few hours later, my water broke. So they transferred me right away over to Children's Hospital in Minneapolis. I think we were there 10 days, and eventually he was born on December 23rd of 2015. He weighed 1 pound, 15 ounces, and was 14 inches long, if you guys can imagine how small he was. So we were kind of in shock. I didn't really know much about premature babies or anything like that. After he was born, there was a whole team of medical professionals that came and took him right away and put him in the incubator and hooked him up to all of his tubes and equipment. And they came back and kind of let us briefly see him before they took him off to the NICU. About 2 hours later, we were cleared to go down there, and it was the first time I really saw the extent of all the machines and the tubes. And I came to realize later on how important the little stickies were that held on his oxygen. He wasn't able to take in enough oxygen on his own, so they actually helped to keep it in place. Whenever the cords would come loose, the machines would go crazy and nurses would come in, and it was a real risk to his life. So I think he had the oxygen for about 2 months. So every single day for 2 months, he wore those little stickies to keep him breathing. And
And the little stickies are the Salter Tender Grips that we make here.
yeah, and at the time, he spent 3 months in the hospital, and it seemed to take forever, and it went so slow. But looking back on it, every single little victory, getting off of the oxygen and the feeding tubes and the heart rate and everything, every little victory meant he was that much closer to coming home. So I really do want to thank you all for everything that you've done here. It really did make a difference while he was there.
Okay, thank you for sharing that. Yeah. And then I have a little bit to say because while she was concentrating on, the breastfeeding and the baby and all this stuff, I got a chance to talk to the nurses. And a couple of the nurses that have been there over 25 years shared, I said to them, I said, okay, now, at first, you want to take him for a moment? Yeah, he could, if you want, let him go. I have a niece who was born 2.2 pounds, and before the stickies came into play, I'm not sure how long you guys have been making them, they used to use gauze and the tape, and the nurses said that it was awful because when they take to change it out, a lot of times the skin would come with, and with that, there's nothing worse, and especially a little tiny baby this long, pulling the skin with it, risk of infection. And with him, he used to have a Hannibal Lecter, I called it. It was a mask that had the straps on it and the big tube coming out. Well, then when the stickies came after he graduated, they held him in place, and his little fingers would come in, and they held pretty good. And when they changed them out, the nurses said this has made our life much better. Because the stickies were so much easier. They're not pulling off the skin. They're not making this poor baby, bleed and this and that. But he truly is a miracle, and all the different facets, and we had no idea. We call them stickies. I'm sure there's a name for it. We call them stickies, and the nurses call them stickies. And it doesn't seem very significant, but this is a miracle. Without him having oxygen, he might not be here with us today, and we just can't imagine that. So we just want to say thank you for the invite, thank you for what you do, and thank you for allowing us to share in this little miracle's life.
Aww.
Thank you.
Thank you.